And the winner is Caitlin Clark, ladies and gentlemen.
And it literally like pisses me off when people are like, she's not the face of the league.
Who would be?
What? No, there's really good, well-known people in our league. I'm not discrediting them. Like, we have a lot of badasses in our league.
Yeah.
Like, hell yeah to that. I'm all for that. But when people try to argue that she's not the face of our league, or if our league would be where we're at without her, you're dumb as shit.
Yeah.
You're literally dumb as fuck.
Nobody saw it coming. Sophie Cunningham, usually calculated with her words, stepped forward with a message so raw it stopped fans in their tracks. Right behind her, Lexi Hull's own post landed like an emotional aftershock. Honest, vulnerable, and impossible to scroll past. But this wasn't just about a teammate's injury. This was personal. For months, the Indiana Fever had been powered by the unshakable trio of Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham, and Lexi Hull, a bond that felt bulletproof in the high-pressure world of professional basketball. Yet, here they were, revealing a twist that no one could have scripted, a turn that left even the most seasoned fans uneasy. July 17, 2025, had been circled on calendars for months. Indianapolis wasn't just hosting the WNBA All-Star Weekend, it was preparing to crown its homegrown superstar. Caitlin Clark's name was everywhere, across banners, on billboards, plastered in shop windows. Every hotel was booked solid. Every ticket had been gone for weeks. This was supposed to be the weekend that stamped Clark's legend in stone. Instead, the energy in the air shifted, almost imperceptibly at first, the kind of stillness that comes before a storm. Clark's legend had already been written in bold strokes long before she signed her first pro contract. At Iowa, she didn't just break records, she shattered them, leaving a trail of double-doubles, sellout arenas, and viral highlights that turned casual viewers into die-hard fans. Her move to the WNBA wasn't a transition, it was a takeover. By her sophomore season, she wasn't merely one to watch, she was the one everyone was watching. When the ESPYs named her WNBA Player of the Year in early July, the basketball world erupted. She'd beaten out league giants like Breanna Stewart and Aja Wilson, women whose names had been synonymous with dominance for years. For someone just 23 years old, it wasn't an award. It was a shot across the bow, a signal that the future had already arrived. All-Star Weekend in Indianapolis was meant to be her coronation. She was the captain for the All-Star Game, the odds-on favorite for the three-point contest, the main event for a city ready to explode in celebration. But in the blink of an eye, the script was ripped apart. Clark, the face of the event, was out. No contest, no game, no on-court appearance, just silence.
Sees the game at a bigger scale, obviously with the platform that she's created for herself, and then that's transitioned to the game. It's huge. And I think, like, for me, especially as a point guard and as someone that's delivering a lot of the passes that lead to shots, like, if I miss, she's definitely going to say, like, you got the next one. Like, I can count on her for keeping me, like, confident and positive.
If you enjoy this, please subscribe. The announcement didn't just land, it detonated. Social media timelines froze mid-scroll. Group chats lit up. Reporters scrambled for statements. How could one of the league's most anticipated weekends collapse for its star before it even began? What had happened between the ESP stage and the All-Star spotlight? The first whispers pointed back to a tense matchup against the Connecticut Sun just days earlier. Observers caught it, a subtle hitch in her movement, a fleeting grimace as she shifted her weight. At first, it seemed like nothing more than fatigue, but moments later, she was clutching her side. Her pace slowed, her eyes narrowing in discomfort. As she limped to the bench, concern replaced excitement in the crowd. Within hours, the truth emerged. Clark had aggravated a groin injury she'd been managing quietly for weeks. Head coach Stephanie White assured everyone she'd be evaluated and monitored closely. But behind the scenes, the reality was harsher. The doctor's advice was clear: rest or risk something far worse. And so, days after being crowned Player of the Year, Caitlin Clark, the heartbeat of All-Star Weekend, had to step away completely. No All-Star game, no three-point contest, no signature moment under the lights in front of her home crowd. The statement landed on July 17th like a gut punch to Indianapolis. Clark's message was short but heavy with meaning. A few carefully chosen words, a heart emoji, and the quiet admission that health had to come first. It was the kind of post you read twice, hoping the second pass might soften the blow. It didn't. Fans were crushed, but many recognized the maturity behind the move. This wasn't about chasing headlines, it was about protecting a career that had only just begun. Clark promised she'd still be there, not on the hardwood, but in the seats, cheering with the same competitive fire she always carried. Still, her absence left a void, and the league had to act quickly. The replacement came from within. Lexi Hull, her Fever teammate, was tapped to step into the contest. On paper, it was a perfect fit. Hull had been quietly crafting one of her best seasons, drilling three-pointers with ruthless efficiency and boasting one of the league's top percentages from deep. Coaches knew she could deliver. But what the public didn't know was that Hull would be stepping into this moment carrying a heartbreak of her own.
What's your doggy's name?
My name is Libby. Libby, sit.
Good morning, Libby. So cute. Oh, okay.
Excited for the game today.
Woohoo.
Just days before the announcement, Hull's world shifted in a way stats could never measure. Her beloved dog, Maggie, a loyal companion for 14 years, passed away. It wasn't just a pet to her. Maggie had been there through every chapter. High school championships, grueling college seasons, long road trips, and quiet nights in unfamiliar cities. Hull broke the news in black and white photos on social media, captioned simply, "The sweetest Mags, home won't be the same without you." The outpouring was instant. Thousands of fans sent messages, but two replies stood out, one from Caitlin Clark, "Love you," and another from Sophie Cunningham, "No, Lex, I'm so sorry." In a league defined by competition, these small digital exchanges revealed something far more human, a web of support that existed beyond the game clock. For the Fever, this wasn't just a roster of professionals, it was a sisterhood. They celebrated each other's highs, yes, but more importantly, they rallied in the lows. And as Hull laced up for the contest with grief still fresh, Clark prepared to clap from the sidelines instead of command the court. The world would soon see that what bound these women together wasn't just shared victories. It was loyalty that could withstand anything.
Sophie Cunningham has been Caitlin Clark's biggest cheerleader and defender over these past few weeks. Obviously, she's a teammate. She plays on the Fever as well. She is the first WNBA player I have seen to openly say this out loud, publicly, and not be ashamed in declaring it. Caitlin Clark is the reason we have been talking about the WNBA. Hate it or love it, it's true. Maybe Caitlin Clark should do the next American Eagle campaign, or Sophie Cunningham. I don't believe that Caitlin Clark necessarily wants that title that everyone has been giving to her. I think she just wants to be appreciated. And Sophie Cunningham, she just seems like such a real one, like such a good friend. I think especially with women, especially elite level athletes, female athletes, there's a lot of people, and more specifically a part of team sports, there's a lot of people, women, who will kind of stab you in the back. There's a lot of jealousy, a lot of resentment, especially when you're good. And you have people like Sunny Hostin of The View who make the point that people like Caitlin Clark have straight privilege and pretty privilege and white privilege and tall privilege. She literally said Caitlin Clark has tall privilege. Insane. So there's a lot of jealousy there. But Sophie just seems like such a girl's girl.
That loyalty had a name. Sophie Cunningham. Known to most fans for her grit, her defense, and her knack for getting under opponents' skin, Sophie's real trademark was her unwavering commitment to her people. Earlier in the season, when Caitlin Clark took a brutal hit, it wasn't a ref, a coach, or a trainer who arrived first. It was Sophie, storming in to stand between Clark and the chaos. The league fined her for that moment, but fans saw it for what it was. Proof that Sophie's fight wasn't just for the scoreboard. From then on, she became something more than a teammate, a protector, and she didn't limit that role to Clark. In the days after Maggie's passing, Sophie made sure Lexi never felt alone, stepping in with quiet check-ins, shared laughs, and a big sister presence that never wavered. It wasn't for show. Fans only learned of it because the trio's bond was impossible to hide. Soon they had a nickname, Tres Leches. What started as a playful nod to a sweet dessert grew into a badge of honor. 3 distinct flavors, each essential, blending perfectly. Clark brought the flash, Cunningham the fire, Hull the focus. Together, they were the emotional engine of the Indiana Fever, a core that no injury, no loss, and no setback could break.
Thank you. I would say that's kind of my role.
Respectful.
That's kind of, a reason that I'm out there is to try to make an impact defensively. And I know I was undersized going against DB. And so trying to just be as active as I could, get my hands on as many balls as I could, and take advantage of that. Caitlin? Yeah. We're done.
Oh, Lex.
The foundation of Tres Leches wasn't built overnight. It was forged in the grind, in the bruises, in the moments when no one was watching. Sophie Cunningham didn't come to Indiana looking for comfort. She came chasing a challenge. After 6 seasons with the Phoenix Mercury, she knew every face in the locker room, every rhythm of the season. But routine had dulled her edge, and Sophie wasn't built for coasting. She wanted urgency again, the kind that makes you dive for loose balls, bark at opponents, and play every possession like the season depends on it. Indiana offered exactly that. The Fever were young, raw, and still searching for their identity, and they weren't afraid to let leaders lead. Sophie brought the same energy that had defined her since Rockbridge High in Missouri, where she bulldozed her way to 4 straight state championships. At Mizzou, she made 129 consecutive starts, crossed the 2,000-point mark, and played like every rebound was personal property. The WNBA didn't soften her, it sharpened her. And now, with Caitlin Clark's star rising, Sophie's voice became the steady heartbeat in the Fever's huddle. But where Sophie brought fire, the next piece of Tres Leches brought a colder, sharper kind of weapon: precision. Lexi Hull's arrival in 2022 wasn't wrapped in hype, but it was wrapped in expectation, the kind only the 6th overall pick carries. Coming out of Stanford, she had nothing to prove to herself, but everything to prove to the league. She had spent 4 years mastering the art of winning, Pac-12 titles, Final Four runs, and the 2021 national championship that silenced every critic. She didn't talk big. She didn't need to. Her game was built on discipline. Long hours of extra shooting, studying opponent tendencies, and wearing down defenders with relentless movement. In college, she delivered when it mattered. 24 points against UCLA, a double-double to knock out Arizona in the title game, clutch threes when the stakes were highest. By the time she arrived in Indiana, she was already fluent in pressure. At first glance, Sophie and Lexi seemed like polar opposites. One loud, one quiet, one fiery, one methodical. But on the court, they clicked instantly. Both carried weight without asking for recognition. And when Caitlin Clark joined the Fever, drawing national attention at every turn, Sophie and Lexi became her shield. Sophie absorbing the hits, Lexi providing the steadiness. That chemistry wasn't staged. It was built in post-practice drills, road trip talks, and moments so small they'd never make a highlight reel. The public saw them as stars, but inside the locker room they were something rarer, a safety net. When Clark learned she'd be missing the All-Star Weekend, a milestone she'd dreamed of for years, it was Sophie and Lexi who kept her from drowning in frustration. Sophie showed up without fanfare, using humor to chip away at the heaviness. Lexi, despite still grieving Maggie, offered quiet words and the kind of calm presence that doesn't demand attention but makes all the difference. This is what made Tres Leches more than a nickname. It was a promise. No one falls alone. They had each other in the adrenaline highs of a comeback win and in the gut punch lows of personal loss. Fans noticed it, not just in how they played, but in how they looked at each other during games. A glance, a nod, a trust so strong it didn't need words. This was the Fever's true competitive edge. Not just talent, not just schemes, but a bond that held under pressure whether the shot fell or not. And in a league where rosters change and allegiances shift, that kind of loyalty is rare and nearly impossible to beat. By mid-season, the Fever weren't just surviving without Caitlin Clark on the floor, they were evolving. The injury that could have derailed their momentum instead revealed just how strong their foundation had become. Sophie Cunningham's influence was everywhere, woven into the daily rhythm of the team. She was the one who showed up early, made sure rookies weren't sitting alone at lunch, and kept practices sharp without draining the joy from them. Her leadership didn't scream. It hummed, steady and unshakable. Lexi Hull's transformation mirrored that steady climb. Once labeled as a solid role player, she had quietly become one of the league's most accurate shooters, hitting threes at a rate that made opposing coaches scramble for defensive adjustments. But her breakthrough wasn't just mechanical, it was mental. In this locker room, she felt free to take the shot, to trust her instincts, to play without fear of mistakes. That kind of trust can't be scripted and it can't be faked. It's built through hundreds of little moments, the pats on the back after a miss, the unspoken green light from a teammate, the belief that you belong. And so, while the outside world obsessed over Clark's absence, Indiana was quietly becoming a team that didn't depend on a single star to shine. What started as a playful nickname, Tres Leches, had transformed into a symbol of something deeper. Fans weren't just wearing the shirts because they liked the cartoon prints of Clark, Cunningham, and Hull. They were wearing them because they believed in what those three stood for: loyalty, heart, joy. You could see it in every high five, every sideline grin, every moment one of them instinctively found the other on the court without needing to look. The ripple effect spread fast. Younger players in the league began talking about the Fever as the team where players were valued as people first. Veterans looking for their next contract began circling Indianapolis not just for the basketball potential, but for the culture. In a league where winning often comes at the expense of connection, the Fever had figured out how to have both. It wasn't about polished PR campaigns or choreographed social media content. It was about the soul of the team, a heartbeat that pulsed louder every game, a chemistry that opponents could feel but never quite crack. And as the season pushed forward, one question kept echoing among fans and analysts alike. Was Indiana's rise fueled by raw talent or by an unshakable bond that no stat sheet could measure?